Hello guys, in this video, we are going to create an amazing end-to-end document Q&A chatbot using Google open source model that is called as Gemma. Now, if you don't know about Gemma, Gemma is a family of lightweight state-of-art open source models built from the same research and technology used to create the Gemini models. Now, you should understand one thing, that they are bigger companies like Meta, they are companies like Google who are specifically working on open source models like Llama 2, Llama 3. So why Google will be behind that, right? So it will obviously create its own open source model, and that is where Gemma and its variant models are there. So in this video, I'll show you how you can actually use Gemma completely from scratch. We will also be using one amazing inferencing engine which is called as Groq. So I hope everybody has heard about this particular Groq. Okay, if you have not heard, don't worry. We will be understanding about this, why Groq will be used. Specifically, if you really want to do faster inferencing, you can use Groq API. That also we'll try to use in our project. Okay. Let me talk more about Gemma model variants. So there are 3 to 4 variants with respect to Gemma. So one is Gemma itself. The other one is Code Gemma. Let's say that you really want to work with a model which will be able to provide you amazing code assistant. Then you can specifically use Code Gemma. Then you have Polygemma. This is specifically for Open Vision language model. And finally, you also have Recurrent Gemma. So all these models we'll be talking about, we'll be developing this, and at the end of the day, we will use for a practical purpose in our end-to-end project this specific Gemma model. Now, let's understand. Okay, so now if I probably go ahead and click on Gemma, get started. Okay, so here you will be seeing that Gemma usually has different kinds of models with respect to parameters. There is 2 billion, there is 7 billion. And there is also, I guess, more billions parameters model that are available. And understand one thing, right now Gemma is also available in Hugging Face. It is also available in Kaggle. Now you can use these models over here in this specific platform, or what you can do in local, you can basically execute it and you can download the entire model locally, right? But we will not go in that way to implement this project. What we are going to do is that we are going to use this amazing Groq inferencing engine, which is also called as Groq Cloud. Now, with the help of this particular inferencing engine, what is so special about Groq? So let's go ahead and read about Groq. Groq is on a mission to set the standard for Gen AI inferencing speed, helping real-time AI applications come to life today. One of the major problems with working with LLM is specifically with respect to inferencing, how quickly you are able to get the response, right? If I consider this Groq platform, it uses something called as LPU inferencing engine. Now, what is LPU inferencing engine? It is nothing but an LPU inferencing engine with LPU standing for language processing unit. Is a new type of end-to-end processing unit system that provides the faster inference for computationally intensive application with a sequential component to them, such as AI language application. Now here you can see that LPU, what is the main thing over here is that, which is nothing but language processing unit, is pretty much faster for the inferencing purpose. It is much more faster than GPUs. So here you can also see a note. Why is it so much faster than GPUs for LLM and Gen AI? The LPU is designed to overcome the two LLM bottlenecks, compute density and memory bandwidth. The LPU has a great compute capacity than a GPU and a CPU in regards to LLM. This reduces the amounts of time per word calculated, allowing sequence of text to be generated much faster. So this is why LPU is very much important, and there is also a research paper where you can probably go ahead and read more about it. Now, if we are specifically calling with respect to Groq, it provides you API. And this amazing platform has almost every open source model. So here you can see Gemma 7 billion parameter. If you want 2 billion parameters, you have to probably use it from Hugging Face. But right now, this Groq platform provides you Llama 370 billion, Llama 3 8 billion, Mistral also, which all are open source models. Now, you can use any of this particular open source model. Based on the project that I'm actually creating, you can use any one of them. Okay, it is up to you. Now, here, I'll just ask one question. Let's select Gemma 7B and I'll just ask what is generative AI. Now, you can just see how faster the generation is, right? 788.30 tokens per second. Just imagine so many number of tokens, right? Now, what I will do, I will just go ahead and show you pricing also. So I will just go ahead and write Groq pricing. Okay. So let's go ahead and see this with respect to the pricing, like how much pricing is there with respect to different model. Now this becomes also important if you really want it to use it for your companies, right? Instead of making sure that you create another platform, make sure you do the entire cloud setup for the inferencing purpose. So Llama 370 billion 8K context length takes somewhere around, the current speed is right now 300 tokens per second, and price is $0.59 per 1 million token input or output. Okay. Similarly, Mistral 8 into 7B SMOE 32K context length. Here you can see 480 tokens per second is generated, and the cost is somewhere around 0.24 per 1 million token input or output. Similarly, you have Llama 3, 8 billion parameters, then you have Gemma, then you also have Whisper Large V3. Okay, so this is also there. But right now in this project, we are just going to focus with respect to Gemma 7B, and we will try to create an end-to-end project. Now the next step, we will just go ahead and understand how to create an API key. So if you go to https://groq.com, right, I will just go ahead and click on this Groq Cloud Developer Console. So as soon as I probably click it, you will be able to see one playground over here, right? With respect to this particular playground, you can select different models and you can try. Okay, but I will be interested in creating the API key. So let's go over here and create an API key. So I will just go ahead and click on API key, and let me just go ahead and write it test. Okay, so this will be my API key name, and I will just click on submit. So this API key, you really need to make sure that you save it somewhere. So what you do, you copy it, and what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to basically use this particular API key in my project itself to create that end-to-end document Q&A. So I hope I have given you an entire idea about Groq, the entire projects that we are going to basically do, and the model that we are going to use. Now let us go ahead and create my model completely from scratch. As usual, the first step, I am just going to open the terminal. Now with respect to this particular terminal, I'm going to go to command prompt. Okay, let me go over here. Okay, and let me do one thing over here. What I am actually going to do, so my command prompt is ready. So here you can actually see that I will go ahead and probably create a new environment. So for that, I'm going to use conda create -p venv, and here I'm going to use Python 3.12, which is the recent version with respect to Python, right? So once this particular environment is basically created, I'm going to just press yes, and all the installation of this thing will take place. Now the next step, I am also going to create a requirement.txt, because for my project, I need to have some libraries, right? Now what all requirement.txt will be created, I will also talk about it. And then I'm going to use .env. Okay, .env is specifically for my environment variables. Now inside my .env, I am going to create two environment variables. One is my Groq underscore API underscore key. With this environment variable, I am going to basically do one thing, is that I'm going to use the Gemma 7B model, right? So here I will go ahead and paste my API key. Please don't use the same API key. You can actually create yours. It is completely for free for some number of requests. So I would suggest please go ahead and create your own. Okay. So this is my Groq API key. The next is nothing but my Google API key. I've already spoken about how you can actually go ahead and create your Google API key. All you need to do is that go to ai.Google Studio API key and just click on get an API key. So get an API key, click on this. Okay, then you will be going to aistudio.google.com/API key. So for this, I have already created two API keys. You can also do it from your side. Just click on this create API, select the project, and just go ahead and create an API in the existing product. Okay, then you will be able to get an API key. So now I will go ahead and paste my API key for the Google part also. Okay. The reason why I'm using Google API key, because I'm going to use some of the embedding techniques which is completely freely available from Google itself. Okay. So these are the two things that I specifically required. Again, I'm telling you, don't use this environment variables because I will be deleting it anyhow. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see what are the next requirements that I specifically require. Now there are some requirements, but before that, let me do one thing. Let me just activate. So I will say conda activate VNV. Okay. And I will activate this particular environment. till then I will close this. And now let me do one thing. Let me quickly go ahead and write the libraries that I'm actually going to use. So one is Phi CPU. I will be using Phi CPU for my vector embedding. Then I will be using Groq. Since I'm going to use LangChain in this, so let me go ahead and install LangChain Groq. Okay. Now LangChain is one amazing library which you can specifically use as a framework to create amazing generative AI application. The next thing is PyPDF 2, right? This library is used specifically to read PDFs and probably read the documents from the PDF. The next thing that I'm actually also going to use is nothing but LangChain _ Google _ Gen AI. Okay. Then you have LangChain. Then you have Streamlit, since we are going to develop Streamlit application. So these are some of the requirements I'm going to specifically use in my project. Then I have LangChain _ community. Then you have python.env, so that we install all the libraries that is required in Python. To call the environment variables. And then finally, I also will go ahead and import PyPDF. So all these requirements I'm going to specifically do. Now let me just open my terminal and just write pip install -r requirement.txt. Now once this installation will take place, till then I'll keep it hidden. Once the installation will take place, all the installation when it is completed, I will go ahead and start my coding with respect to app.py. Now since the installation is already taking place, let me just let that happen in the backend, and we are just going to continue our code with respect to this. Okay. Now one very important thing, first of all, I will just say import OS. Okay. And let me just open my terminal. I know that installation is taking place over there. Okay. So here you can see installation is taking place. I will just go ahead and open my command prompt, and let me just go and check whether everything is fine. So I'll say in Python app.py, it looks absolutely fine. Let me do one thing. Let me go ahead and write conda activate venv. Okay. Let me clear the screen. And now let me go ahead and write Python app.py. The reason why I'm writing it, because my code should be ready and it should be able to highlight all these libraries. So you also do it the same thing from your side. So now I will go ahead and import Streamlit as st. So I'm going to use one more library called as Streamlit. Now since I'm going to use Groq, so in Groq you have a chat Groq, so that you will be able to create a chatbot. So for that I'm going to use from LangChain _ Groq import from LangChain _ Groq import chat Groq. Okay. Then similarly, what I'm actually going to use, I'm not going to use chat OpenAI. Anyhow, it will be suggesting me multiple things. Now, once I probably read any documents, right, I should be able to convert that into chunks. So for that, I will be using from LangChain.text _ splitter, import recursive character text splitter. Along with this, you will also be seeing that I will be using one more library in LangChain. That is nothing but LangChain.chains.combine documents. I'm going to import create stuff document chain. Okay. So if you know the basic idea of LangChain library, we use this create stuff document chain to get the relevant documents in document Q&A, right? This will basically help us to set up the context. Okay. Then in the LangChain, we are also going to use chat prompt template, so that we will be able to create our own custom prompt template. So here we are writing from LangChain _ core.prompts import chat prompt template. Okay. So guys, now the next step will be that we will be embedding our vector store DB that we are specifically going to use. And for that, we are going to import from LangChain _ community.vector stores import Fias. Okay. So Fias, if you don't know, it is a kind of a vector store that has been created by Facebook, and internally it is basically used to store vectors, and it internally performs semantic search or similarity search to give you the results based on the information that you have asked. Along with this, you'll be able to see that I will also be importing my library, which is called as From LangChain underscore community.documents loader, we will be using PyPDF directory because our main aim is that we'll be reading some PDF files from a folder, and then we will be reading all the documents, and then we will be dividing into chunks using this recursive character text splitter. And finally, we are also going to use one more library, that is our embedding technique. And for that, we are going to import from LangChain underscore Google underscore Gen AI. So Google already provides this Google generative AI embedding, which you can completely use it completely for free just by using the Google API key. And this Google generative AI embedding will be responsible, right? Will be responsible in converting your text, your chunks of text into vectors. So this is exactly your vector store DB. And this will be your vector embedding technique. Okay, techniques. Now the next thing is that from .env we are going to import load underscore .env, right? So I'm also going to use this library. The reason we are using is so that we can actually go ahead and load all our environment variables. Okay, now finally you can see load the Groq and Google generative AI embeddings. Okay, now in order to call the Groq, right, and here I will just say API load the Groqs and from the environment variable. Okay, so I will just go ahead and write this. Now how do I load it? So I will write Groq underscore API underscore cree os dot get env Groq API key, right? Isn't it amazing? I'm using Amazon Q as my as my code assistant over here, so automatically I'm able to get the suggestion. So I'm going to use os.environment, and here let me go ahead and write Google underscore API underscore key, and this I'm actually going to set it to os.get env is nothing but Google API key, and this both environment variable is created in my env file. Now quickly, let's me go ahead and write st dot title, and here I'm going to basically say Gemma model chatbot. Okay, document Q&A, and here we are specifically using Groq. Okay, now let me just go ahead and call my LLM model. So here I'm going to use my chat Groq, and with respect to this, I'm going to use my Groq API key. And here I'm going to specifically say comma model underscore name, and I'm going to give my model name over here, right? So what is my model name? I will go again back over here and just go ahead and copy this. So here you can see Gemma 7B IT. Okay, so I hope this name is right. So I'm going to write Gemma 7B IT. Okay, so this is the name. Let's see, Gemma 7B IT. Okay, so this particular model I'm actually using it, and with the help of a Groq API key I will be able to call it. Okay, so let me just go ahead and see whether everything is working fine or not. So I'll just go ahead and print this. Okay, so let me open this one. I will close this, close the environment variable. So let me go ahead and write Python app.py to view the statement griplet. Okay, streamlet run app.py. No worries, I will just go ahead and execute it. Streamlet, or let's wait till I execute the entire code, not right now. So I'll just close this. Okay, instead of just printing it, I will just not use it. Okay, now the next step, what we are going to do is that we are going to set up our prompt template. Now to set up our prompt template, I will be using the same chat prompt template .from templates, and I'm going to probably keep this something very important. I'm just going to write the prompt as answer a question based on the provided context only. Please provide the most accurate response based on the question context over here, right? The context will be this. Okay, and from this particular context, it is just going to take this particular input over here, and just by taking this information, it is going to give us the entire information. Okay, now this is just a basic thing. Okay, and Right now, there are a lot many things to be implemented because we know how to load a model, right? We know how we have actually done the environment setup with respect to our Google API key and Groq API key. Now it's time that we will see how to probably create our vector embedding. So guys, now we are going to create a function which is called as vector embedding. And this vector embedding function, what it is going to do is that we will be reading all the documents from our PDF files. And from those PDF file, we are also going to convert this into chunks, then apply embeddings. We are going to apply Google generative AI embeddings. And then finally, we will be storing it in a vector store DB that is called as FIAS. And we are going to keep this vector store DB even in our session state so that we will be able to use it anywhere it is required. Okay. So first of all, what I am going to do is that I am going to make sure that one type of PDFs, I should be able to upload it over here. So let me do one thing. Let me just go to my file explorer, and inside this, I am going to put my PDFs. So here you can see there is a folder which is called as US Census. So in this US Census, what I'm actually going to do is that I'm going to put 4 PDFs. And this PDF only we are specifically going to use it. Okay. So we are going to read all these PDFs from here. And the first vector store DB that I'm going to create in a variable, that variable I'll just go ahead and write it somewhere like this, right? So let's go ahead and write, I'm going to write if vectors, since I also need to use session state, not in st.session state. So I will not write this entire code because I'll make it very much simpler because I need to save everything in session state with respect to different variables. So if vectors not in session state, now the first thing I'm actually going to do over here is that go ahead and write st.sessions_state. First of all, I will go ahead and define my embeddings. Now for this, I'm going to use my Google generative AI embeddings. Now inside this embeddings, I will be using a model which is basically called as model/embedding 001. Okay, so embedding 001. So this is one of the model that is available in Google for the embedding purpose. Okay, and I'm actually going to share this in the form of session state with this variable that is called as embeddings. Okay, in the next step, I'm going to basically write st.session_state.loader. And here I'm going to specifically use py-pdf directory, and my folder name is nothing but US_census. This is specifically my data ingestion phase. Okay. And again, understand, once I read it, I'm storing this entire loader in a session state with this particular variable name. Okay. So this basically becomes my data ingestion step. Then my next step is st.session_state session_state .docs. I'm going to create one more variable called as docs, and let me just go ahead and write st.session_state_loader.load. When we use this loader.load, in short, this is going to load all the documents. So this is basically loading the documents, right? Now the next step is that I'm going to use this st.session_state.textSplitter, because when we write loader.load, right, we will specifically get all the documents inside this particular variable docs, right? Now just by using st.session.textSplitter, so this is my variable name. Here we are going to use recursive character text splitter, wherein all these documents will be splitted into chunks, right? And here we are going to use a chunk size of 1000 and chunk overlap of 200. Okay. So in short, this recursive character text splitter is a function which is going to take the documents and splits based on this chunk size and chunk overlap. Chunk overlap basically means there will be overlap of characters. So finally, I will go ahead and write st.session_state, and then I'm going to basically go ahead and create my final documents. Okay, and just go ahead and use this entire text splitter. So here we are writing st.session_state.textSplitter.split documents, and here we are going to use this entire docs, right? So that is the reason we have given st.session_state.docs. The reason why we are saving all this in session state, because we should be able to use it anywhere that we require. And finally, after doing this, we will finally create our vector store. So let me quickly go ahead and write st dot session underscore state dot vectors is nothing but I'm going to use this fias dot from documents, and here we are going to use this st dot session underscore state dot final documents, and the embedding techniques will be the same embedding technique that we have initialized over here, that is nothing but Google generative AI embedding, right? And this embedding will be responsible in converting all these final documents into vectors, and this fias will be responsible in storing all those embeddings into this particular vectors, right? So this is the function that is probably doing all these things, right? Now what I am actually going to do after we close this function, I will create a field, right? So let me just go ahead and write prompt1, okay? And let me just go ahead and create one st.text underscore input. And here I'm going to basically write enter your question from the documents, okay? Or what you want to ask from the documents, what you want to ask from the documents, okay? So I'm just going to ask this question, okay? So this will basically be my prompt one. Now here I'm going to basically write if st.button. I'm also going to create a button, and this will be responsible in creating vector store, okay? Vector store. That basically means if I click this button, then my entire process of this vector embedding should happen. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to call my vector embedding, and then once this entire embedding is created, I will just go ahead and write my vector store db is ready, right? Because from this particular vector store, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to query anything, right? And before that, we really require this vector state variable, right? This vector db should be there, right? So if I click this button, automatically that vector embedding will get created, okay? Now, I'm also going to show you some amazing thing with respect to the time, right? Because I'm saying you, hey, this is really, really fast, right? Groq LPU is really, really fast. So let us record the time also. And with that, you'll be able to understand the importance of it. Now, finally, I will go ahead and write if prompt1, okay? That basically means whenever I write any text and press enter, right? I should take this particular input and create my document chain. And for that, I will be using this create stuff document chain. Here, two parameters will be given. One is my LLM model. The LLM model that I am using over here is nothing but Gemma 7b. And the second parameter that is basically used is nothing but prompt. Okay. So both these things are available now. Now, finally, I will go ahead and create my retriever. And this will basically be st.sessionState dot vectors as a retriever. Now understand what is the main functionality of this particular retriever. This vector store is a vector database. Now to retrieve information from this vectors, right, from this vector database, with the help of this particular function as a retriever, it creates an interface. So whatever question we basically ask through this interface, it will be able to take this particular response and it will be able to give to the end user, right? So that is the reason why we specifically use retriever. Okay. Finally, after creating this particular retriever, since I really need to run this in the form of chain, right, where I have my retriever, where I have my document chain, both of them needs to be combined. So we are basically creating a retrieval chain. Okay. So once this is done, now see the next step. It is quite amazing. I'm just going to start my time and I'm going to say time.process underscore time. Okay. Process underscore time. And finally, I'm going to basically go ahead and write my response, which is nothing but it will be retriever dot chain. And here we are basically going to call an invoke function. And inside this invoke function, we can keep our input variable as input. And this will be equal to my prompt one, because I'm going to send whatever input I'm giving in this particular prompt with respect to my question. It should be able to retrieve from this entire chain. And finally, I get my response. After I get my response, I'm going to basically display that entire response in my Streamlit app. Okay. Now, one more thing that you really need to understand, whenever this Gemma model provides you some response, it also provides you some kind of context in return. Okay. And I will also try to display that context. So please go ahead and I'll give you this as an assignment. Please go ahead and understand what I am specifically doing over here, and make sure that you write down in the comment section what is basically written. See, response of context. Through response of context, I will be able to get my entire context information. And the reason why I are using enumerate function, because there will be two values, I comma doc, right? So doc will basically have the page content which will get displayed. Okay. So this here we are also using some more additional information to provide you more context information from where it is taken. So I hope till here the entire coding is done. Now let's go ahead and run this. I hope everything should be fine and we should be able to run it in an amazing way. Now I'm going to probably write Streamlit run app.py. Okay. So finally, let's allow this. So finally, here you can probably see the entire Streamlit app that we have created. Now let's go ahead and click on documents embedding. Now, once I probably click on documents embedding, what it needs to do is that it should be able to create the vector DB. And if everything works fine, yes, the vector DB is ready. Now it's time that I can specifically ask any question that I want. So let me do one thing. Let me quickly open this particular US Census website, the PDF, and then we should be able to see this. So here is my PDF. Okay, and let me open this particular PDF. Now this is the PDF. Let me just go ahead and ask some question like this. What is health insurance coverage and all? So here I'll just go and paste it and now press enter to apply it. Now here you can probably see I will be able to get quickly all the response. If you remember, I had also implemented the time. So time is just 0.10 second, which is pretty much good with the help of this LPU inferencing engine. And here you can see all the information is there. According to the American survey, health insurance coverage refers to an annual average of current comprehensive health insurance coverage status. And this is basically my entire similarity search, the context that we have specifically got. Let's try some more. So let me just go ahead and ask this. What is the difference in the uninsured rate? And let's see what is the answer that I will be getting. What is the difference in the uninsured rate by state in 2022? In 2022, the uninsured rate was low of 2.4% and all the information is perfectly coming up. This is basically the context information that we are able to get from the PDF. So I hope you like this video. I hope you were able to understand it. This was it from my side. I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you. Take care.